Jim, I'm going to ask you now to come and share this word the Lord has given you. I want to encourage you to listen and hear. Jim's one of our elders and is the primary prophetic voice in this house. I want you to hear what he has to say as coming from the Lord.
Dave, can you put John 15, 1 through 9 up there? We'll get to that in a minute. I started one day when I was praying, I wrote it down, but this is what I heard. I heard that there was a storm coming to America, and then it was confirmed through a couple other people. Within 2 days, a storm came and blew my grapevine over and broke a water pipe. I fixed the water pipe, and then I had to figure out a way to resurrect the grapevine. When I started to fix the grapevine, I saw that it was full of grapes, so I wanted to be careful to resurrect the whole thing. I built a new structure to attach it to. Then I started to try to winch it off the ground. It was very difficult and awkward. I had to do it in stages, and I used the rungs of a ladder to support it as I raised it off the ground in stages. The old structure was just too heavy. I was trying to keep the whole thing intact because it was full of fruit, and the vine was attached to the old structure, but it wasn't possible to resurrect it intact. So I tried to remove the old structure from the vine so that I could at least save the grapes. But it was just too grown together. The vine was clinging to the old structure and wouldn't separate. So I had to cut more than half the vine off, fruit and all. Then I was able to use the truck to pull the old structure from what was left of the vine. All the branches in the fruit that were closest to the main trunk were left, and the rest was lost. Then I was able to resurrect the trunk and the remaining branches and the fruit that was left. Then God started talking to me about this over the next few days. There is indeed a storm coming to America in which God's people will suffer great loss and persecution. Many are clinging to the world and will miss the resurrection. Cling not unto the world, but cling to me, says the Lord. Only the ones that stay grafted into me will experience the resurrection of the just. The storms will come in stages, and all will experience loss of some kind or some level. The mature branches will continue to produce the fruit that remains. The ones who stay closest to me, there will be great loss of life and possessions. It is my will that all be saved and come to a knowledge of the truth. And then, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does not bear fruit he prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, and you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. I realized that from the example that the storm would come in stages, and the results would be severe to the ones that cling to the world for safety, security, and health. The Lord has to be our help and Savior. There is no other way. Then I was reminded of a time when God gave me another word about the cross. In the early days of this church, we had a series of storms blow through the church yard and break the cross down in the prayer garden out there. I fixed the cross, and when I went to put it back in the ground, God said to get some gravel and pour it into the hole to support the cross. So we put the cross in the hole and poured the gravel in and packed it down. It seemed sturdy. That night there was a storm, and the next day the cross was leaning to one side. So I rocked it back into place and made it straight and packed down the gravel again. The next day was the same. A storm blew through at night, and the cross was leaning in the morning. And so the next day, there's 3 days that this happened. So then we scooped out some of the gravel and concreted it in. Chris finally had to replace the cross and put some guide wires on it to support it. Then God spoke to me and said, we as believers are living stones, and we are to support the cross through the good times and the bad. If we support the cross, it will endure the storms. We may all be here, but the willingness of our hearts must be the same to put God first in all things. Events happen in the earth that cause change, but my people that cling to me will remain. The apostasy is at hand. Be true in your hearts, and know me, says the Lord. Be mature, knowing that your reward will be great. The purpose and meaning of the cross is being swallowed up by the world. The true Christians will become the scourge of the earth, but my word is true and will remain forever. Then I believe God showed me that they will offer a reward to turn us in. Then I heard the Lord say that your faith must be pure and my people must remain close to me. The trials they go through can be used to cause them to seek me. If they seek me, they will find me. In the seeking, the world and what it offers will lose its importance, and I will be glorified as the God of your salvation. Many seek me for provision, then they replace me with the provision. Don't replace me with a wife or a husband. Don't replace me with a job or a healed body. Don't replace me with answered prayer, says the Lord.